The PlayStation 5 certainly fits in line with Sony's long-running powerhouse consoles. Its controller, however, has a few new tricks under the hood. Here are the 10 games that make the best use of the adaptive triggers. Number 10, Astro's Playroom. Let's say you just went and got yourself a PlayStation 5, but oh no, you forgot to pick up a game, let alone one that can perfectly showcase the console and controller capabilities. Well, guess again, Astro's Playroom, the bundled game, free to download from the PlayStation Store if you accidentally deleted it, fits this criteria to a T, perfectly demoing all the haptic and sound produced by the DualSense within the adorable yet spotless world of the plucky robot protagonist, Astro. For this list, we must specifically recommend the springing, staggered platforming sections where players must feel the tension in each trigger to gauge how much spring power to give the bot. It's an ingenious little section in a wonderful package. And again, that's free. Doesn't get much better than that. Number 9, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. The Ratchet and Clank series first debuted on the PlayStation 5 and helped showcase the new console's ability to stream data and reduce the length and frequency of loading screens. It was a different time, kids. But not that different, because once again Insomniac Games is at it with their furry robotic duo, which means lots and lots of guns. True to their style, these aren't simple bullets and bombs, but off-kilter beams and cannons, which make short work of Dr. Nefarious's crew. The DualSense triggers are treated with all sorts of hardened thuds and pulsing waves and jittery rattles one would expect of Ratchet's growing arsenal. The fact that it's also a tremendous example of the PlayStation 5 quick streaming capabilities doesn't hurt either. Hey, it's just like the thing I said about the PS2. Number 8, Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima was hailed as an already great open world game when it launched on the PlayStation 4. But for the PlayStation 5 upgrade, developer Sucker Punch gave all the usual visual and performance enhancements necessary to give this already strikingly beautiful game another bit of gloss. But so too did the DualSense triggers, aiding players in steadying their bow, with the tension heightened as Jin pulls back. There's a few other neat additions, including the grappling hook swing, but the bow is a real standout example because it helps the player learn the timing of arrows. The DualSense is often a fun toy, but this added information really shows off the potential of haptic feedback. Number 7, Demon's Souls. Bluepoint Games, now owned by Sony, has spent over a decade discovering the exact ways a game can be enhanced or reduced when ported to other consoles, with the likes of Titanfall on the Xbox 360 and the Echo and Shadow of Colossus collection on the PlayStation 3. Demon's Souls on the PlayStation 5 takes far more liberties in its recreation of From Software's classic, and that includes the adaptive triggers. Every slash and shield deflect can be immediately felt via the tensions and feedback and triggers. Again, this is reducing the need to look for visual reminders like enemy health bars, and putting it right into the tactical information, which of course helps with immersion, even if your character will still die 5 million times to one boss. Sorry. Number 6, Control. Remedy Games is no stranger to third-person shooters, but it took the better part of 2 decades to see the developer of Max Payne successfully return to the genre. Sorry, Quantum Break. Control is a creepy shooter where players frequently encounter anomalies challenging all human knowledge, which is pretty scary. Thankfully, Jessie Faden, moments after she arrives at the Federal Bureau of Control, was unanimously elected as the Bureau's new director, granting her a, let's just say, magical gun, which makes perfect use of the DualSense triggers with the bouncy, snapping thud of a revolver, or the wild shudder of a machine gun. It's so satisfying, it might be the best way to play Control. Number 5, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I bet you're wondering, why this and not Spider-Man 2? Well, Spider-Man 2 is certainly a showcase to the PlayStation 5's graphical prowess, but we're not altogether convinced Insomniac Games gave equal time to the DualSense triggers, and that's a shame because historically, with Ratchet and Clank and the next entry on our list, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Insomniac make the best example of Sony's controller technology. Miles, unlike the Peter Parker Spider-Man, has a few bonus powers, including elevated control over the electricity his own body produces. What that means, I have no idea, but I do know the screen tells you to pull the trigger on occasion, and Miles wallops whatever dares crosses his path with a surging lightning punch. And of course, the web swinging on the triggers is excellent as well, but man, it's that lightning punch that's the cherry on top. Number 4, Returnal. Returnal was one of the first great examples of a new PlayStation 5 game besides Astro's Playroom to make great use of the DualSense. And while not the point of this list, the subtle haptic feedback here could be the very best use of the DualSense so far. But it's this roguelike's bombastic bombastic shooting sequences and futuristic sci-fi weaponry that really puts it over the edge. Returnal requires near-perfect runs before closing out its credits, and that means adapting to seemingly impossible challenges. Returnal's triggers do more than entertain. They engage the player into the restrictions and capabilities of each weapon, and again, it's proper timing, which makes the crushingly difficulty of this game a bit easier. Just a bit though. Number 3, Horizon Forbidden West. The final sections of this list are all third-person shooters, and that's by no mistake. Horizon's strange version of Earth, complete with metallic dinosaurs and arcanic human tribes, lets Aloy spend hours hunting with her bow and bashing dinos with a melee staff. Every thud and shot is perfectly captured with the DualSense triggers. So if you're looking for an open world without samurais or web slinging, this is easily the best one on the list. Number 2, Resident Evil Village. Okay, this is recommended, absolutely recommended, certainly, but with one major caveat. It's a bit creepy, isn't it? Not just the horror game Resident Evil Village, but the way it uses the DualSense for every rusted weapon and off-stained puzzle. It takes this gross world of Resident Evil and makes it far more tangible than before. And is that really a good thing? Well, considering the goal of Resident Evil is to perpetually put players in a state of unease as they combat the messy monsters and mutated humans, then yes, absolutely. It's the only game on this list to make you go, ew. Number 1, The Last of Us Part 1. You know, it's almost comical how much work Naughty Dog put into The Last of Us Part 1, presumably to combat any negative reaction to this remake of an already still perfectly functional game. From the graphics to the audio and the world-class and much applied accessibility options, which will now be the industry standard going forward, there's plenty of reasons to try this game. But they didn't skip on the triggers either. Pistols, bows, and shotguns, everything here feels completely unique and, truthfully, sort of worn down. Or maybe that's just the game's immersive presentation. These adaptive triggers are yet another wonderful reason to avoid the PC version and stick with the PlayStation 5. And there you have it, the 10 games that make the best use of the adaptive triggers. How you feeling? Strong, flowing, buzzing? Right on. Why not use both of those index fingers to keep clicking around here on Game Rant? And we'll see you soon.